This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, let's have some fun. It's a new hour, Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Thursday night into the early hours of your Friday morning here on the program. It's going to be a fun weekend in the NBA, and it all starts with a couple of play-in games Friday night for the right to take on each conference's respective one seed. Miami, Atlanta, winner gets Cleveland, and then Memphis, Dallas, winner gets OKC. Going to dive into those games, going to look ahead to some series prices, some best bets that I've got and I love for the first round of the NBA playoffs. We'll look at a busy baseball slate for Friday on the Diamond. Spent some time earlier recapping the Thursday games. Now it's time to look ahead. We've got some day baseball. We've got one game that starts earlier than 6:40 p.m. Eastern. I wish there were more, but thank God for the Cubbies. And hey, it's going to be a good one. Cubs D-backs, couple of 12-win teams. Corbin Burns opposite Colin Ray. We'll get into that. Corbin Burns been off to a bit of a slow start. His first three games with the Snakes. 0-1, a 5.28 ERA. Ironically, while he's 0-1, the two games he's gotten no decision despite getting touched up, he's allowed more than 3 earned every game. I don't think he's got a quality start under his belt yet, but Arizona is actually 2-1 in Corbin Burns' 3 starts. We'll get into that. We'll get into some other notable pitching matchups later on because I'm juiced and jazzed for this Friday MLB slate. But let's start with the NBA. Let's start with the play-in games. Miami, Atlanta. We've been moving markets all week on Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Started with the Clippers, plus 135 way back when on Sunday night. That was the first series bet we locked in. We had the Rockets a couple of weeks ago, 27-1, locked that in. But Clippers plus $1.35 to beat the Nuggets. That is now a pick'em, minus 10 cents each way. Then it was the Knicks and the Pistons, over 5.5 games. And this was one, admittedly, we didn't lock in at minus 115, but we talked about it. And it got up to minus 130 on over 5.5 games. The Pistons came down from plus 330 to plus 310. Now it's settled on over 5.5 games, minus 125. Heat Hawks, we took Miami. Wow, this has moved since the show began. Miami, the best price out there, spread or money line. FanDuel and Boyd had them plus 1.5, and then on the money line, plus 108. This was a pick'em. Where is this? Odds courtesy of, that's DraftKings in like the size 0.04 font on the bottom of the screen there and under the graphic. So that's over at DraftKings. That was a pick'em when Cashing Out began. Now the Heat laying 1. Juiced only 5 cents. Do we have an alt market? I would love to know what Miami laying 5.5 would be. We did talk about this briefly yesterday on Cashing Out. How Cousin Sal, who's a great follow on Twitter, tweeted out his quote-unquote system. And look, I'm not going to endorse this system. I'm not going to tell you to blindly do it every game. But he said you bet each side minus 9.5 alt spread. And you'd be shocked how many of these games end up double digits. And boom, you're in business. So what would the Heat be laying 9.5? 3-1. And Atlanta laying 9.5. would be plus 320. So that's the gist. That's the point of the system. And it actually, in the first 4 play-in games, it went 3-1, right? You had Mavs by 14 over Sacramento. In the East, both games were double digits, right? Magic by, 25 over the Hawks. And then you had the Heat by 19 over the Bulls. So you had 3 games out of the first 4 decided by 14 plus. So that's what he's talking about with that system. I would look potentially at a Heat minus 4.5 plus $1.45, minus 5.5 plus $1.70. Almost 2-1 if you go 6.5. I'd look 4.5, 5.5. But we got the Heat yesterday. Money line. It was plus money just for the straight money line, plus $1.05 yesterday. Locked it in. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Not going to get too fancy with this one, but I do think the Heat win. I love the matchup for Miami in this one. You look at the way that they defend, and the experience that they bring to the table. And I know Atlanta's, a couple of these guys have some playoff experience. I know Trae Young knows what it's like to win in the playoffs at Madison Square Garden. Yes, I remember. Still haunts me. That sucked. But I don't think that this Hawks team is equipped to beat an Eric Spoelstra-led squad. And I don't think that they're going to have an answer to shut down Bam Adebayo, who was great against the Bulls. Didn't get us our 20-plus for the sweep. 3 in one day. That was our only loss. Finished with 15. Had 7 in the first quarter. Finished with 15, but still had a great game. 15 points, 12 boards. And Tyler Hero had his 38-piece in that one against Chicago. I don't think Hero's going to do that. Dyson Daniels is going to be charged with the task of guarding Tyler Hero. And Dyson Daniels defensively is a stud. But the thing is, Atlanta doesn't have a whole lot else on defense not named Dyson Daniels. And we've said it yesterday. We've said it earlier in this program. Let's say it again. The guy next to him in the backcourt is a freaking liability. Trae Young on defense is an absolute and utter liability. And so if Dyson Daniels slows down Tyler Hero, that's great. Congratulations. Whoever Trae Young is guarding is going to be freed up to have a field day. And you got Bam and you got Wiggins, and I don't care if it's Davion Mitchell in the backcourt or if it's Duncan Robinson. You got other pieces in Miami who are going to be just fine if Tyler Hero gets taken out. And taken out for Tyler Hero could mean 18, 20 points. And if Tyler Hero has 18, 20 points, and that's with one of the league's best backcourt defenders on him in Dyson Daniels, well, I got news for you. Miami's winning this game. And it might not be too difficult. You look at the 4 times that these teams have squared off earlier this season. First 2 were in Atlanta, and they were both double-digit wins for the Hawks. Last 2 in Miami, and they were both double-digit wins for the Heat. Kind of reinforces that quote-unquote system play we were talking about before, huh? All 4 games decided by double digits in the season series between these two. Miami minus 9.5, 3-1. Looking juicier and juicier the more I stare at it. How about some props in this one? Tyler Hero's number sitting there around 25.5. I don't know if I can get there on that. Not convinced enough to go under, but I certainly can't go over. I'll tell you who I can go under on. And it's the same number, 25.5. Both of these guys, highest number on the board. Trae Young. I look at the way that Miami defended in Chicago against a Bulls team that has been scoring at will the last 6 weeks of the season. And I think Trae Young is going to stay under that 25.5 mark. He was not efficient. He was not good. Can we say that he was not good against Orlando? And he had 28 points. And we talked about the prospect of him going over his mark, albeit we didn't go to the counter on it. I'm not taking credit for it, but we talked about it. He got there, but it wasn't pretty. He got there because he got to the line. 11 of 12 from the stripe. It was just 8 of 21 from the floor. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he had just 1 3. Trae Young did not have a good game against Orlando. And Trae Young's had a bit of a down season. I don't think he goes over that 25.5 mark. I really don't. Miami is just so good defensively. And unlike Atlanta, it's not one guy, right? It's not like it's just Dyson Daniels. This Heat team defends. And obviously they lost an incredible defender and an incredible playoff performer in Jimmy Butler. But that defense oozed down from Butler. And Young's dealing with this Achilles thing. I mean, he's listed as probable for the game. You know he's going to give it a go. I'd look at him maybe for assists. I don't think he's going to score a whole lot. What's his number on dimes? Because I think that Trae Young, if that Achilles thing is bothering him, wow, 11.5 assists, plus 10 cents to the over, minus 40 to the under. I don't know if you could play that. Maybe an alt market, maybe 10 plus, but I'm looking under Trae Young, and that might be a best bet. Let's see what he's done against Miami this season. Had 29 and 12 dimes last time in South Beach. Had 17 and 8 prior to that. 11 and 14 dimes prior to that, and that was in a win. And 11 and 15 dimes. So Trae Young has gone over 11.5 assists in 3 out of 4 against the Heat. But on points, 11, 11, 17, 29. There's your play, ladies and gentlemen. Under 25.5 points for Trae Young. We'll shop around. We'll try to get the best price. Let me Let me plug that in. DraftKings is minus 110 on the under. Before we wrap up here and get it to a commercial break, I want to get you the best price, see if there's anything better out in the market, because that's what we do here on Cashing Out. We shop around, and we get the prices that we want. So Trae Young, points scored, 25.5. Your best bet is DraftKings or BetRivers, minus 110. 26.5 is the number at MGM, but if you go under, you're laying 35 cents. So, yep, that DraftKings play, under 25.5, minus 10 cents. It's the best bet for Trae Young in this Hawks Heat game. Folks, Kentucky Derby is just a couple short weeks away. You ready to get in on the action? If so, First Bet's got you covered. Sign up now. You can access exclusive promotions, plus bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day, right from your phone, computer, or tablet. Just go to firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use the promo code VEASAN200, and you can score a 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days, right up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. I know we didn't touch on it much, and we will as the program continues, but that Mavericks-Grizzlies game, you talk about horse racing, that might be a race. Might be a scoring race. I like the over 221.5 there. I haven't played it yet, but I like that more than either side. Mavericks-Grizzlies. And I don't think John Morant's going to put up a lot of points, but I think Desmond Bane might go unconscious on his home court in that one for the right to take on Oklahoma City. We'll shift gears up ahead, talk a little NFL draft. We'll hear from some other VEASAN personalities as well. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through your Thursday night into your Friday morning here on the program. And the NFL draft is coming up. We'll dive into that a little bit here. Going to hear from some other VEASAN personalities on some draft talk, some draft bets, how you can get in on the action in this market. I want to take a look at, and we're not going to hear from this guy, but Matt Humans did just put his mock draft up on VEASAN.com. Make sure you're a VEASAN Pro subscriber. Best deal imaginable right now, $59. Everything you could dream of through August 1st. You don't want to miss out on things like Matt Humans' mock draft and other articles. So, by the way, I love that Humans put this up on April 16th, and this is his mock draft 1.0. Can we normalize that? Can we stop with the freaking February mock drafts, right? How many guys in February? Cam Ward, number one to the Giants. They're going to trade. Remember when the Giants were like even money to have the first pick? Now Cam Ward to the Titans is like minus 20,000 off the board at most shops. We need to stop with the mock draft 6.0 coming out next week. Enough. It really is just, it's become just like a talking point. It's like we got 3 months of draft crap. Like I said yesterday, I love how the WNBA does it. Women's college Final Four, done, boom, a week later, WNBA draft. Enough. We don't need 3 months of the Giants might pick up the phone and call Tennessee to take Cam Ward. So drawn out. So Humans, I'll commend them for this again, mock draft 1.0 came out April 16th. And this looks eerily similar to the mock draft that came out on ESPN early on April 17th from anonymous NFL scouts. Humans, we talk about beating the market here on Cashing Out. Humans beat the market. He did not copy and paste that ESPN Plus article. This was out first on VEASAN.com. Let's take a look at it. It's got Cam Ward going number one to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to the Browns, Abdul Carter to the Giants. All three of those guys, big favorites. Now it's got Will Campbell, the O-lineman at LSU, going 4 to New England. There have been some talks about maybe McMillan earlier in the draft cycle. He's really dropped off, the receiver out of Arizona. In fact, Humans has him going 23rd to Green Bay, home of the draft this year. Mason Graham D-tackle out of Michigan going to Jacksonville. I personally would like to see the Jaguars do something a little sexier with that pick. We've heard Ashton Genty. I think at 17-1, Tyler Warren would be phenomenal for Trevor Lawrence. Talk about replacing Evan Ingram, but upgrading big time. Then they have Humans has Genty, 6 to the Raiders. Membao, the O-tackle out of Mizzou, 7 to the Jets. I think that would be a home run pick for the Jets. Jalen Walker, the edge/linebacker out of Georgia to Carolina at 8. And here's where things get funky. He's got Jackson Dart going 9th to the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you look at the odds for where Shedeur Sanders is going to go, the Saints were even money last time I saw that. They're currently 2-1. Wow. They went from even money to 2-1. Pittsburgh has come down from damn near 5-1 to plus 275. The Giants are now the 4th shot. It goes Saints, Steelers, Browns, Giants. But the Saints were even money a minute ago. And there's Humans mock draft. We'll throw that on the screen. He's got Jackson Dart, 9th to the Saints. That would be something if Kellen Moore and company went Dart. By the way, to round out the top 10, Tyler Warren to the Bears. Dynamic tight end out of Penn State. Love that kid. Shedeur's Saints odds have, wow, that's a big jump from even money to 2-1. By the way, Warren to the Bears are the 3rd shot. It goes Indy plus $1.60, Jets plus 280, Bears plus 350. Jacksonville has gotten a little longer from 17-1 to 20-1. My goodness. Will Campbell is now minus 240 to go top 5. A lot of people seem to think he'll go to the Pats. And Mason Graham, who Humans has going to the Jaguars here, minus 115. If you're convinced, if you're with Humans, there's some value there on Graham, minus 115 to the Jaguars. Wouldn't do Campbell, minus the 240. But back to Shedeur Sanders and that Jackson Dart pick at 9. Let's hear what an earlier show had to say on the prospect of the Saints passing on Shedeur Sanders at number 9, maybe going in a different direction. Let's hear from our buddies Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis on VSiN by the Books.
But if you are the Saints and you say, well, if Derek is not going to be able to go this year, and maybe we pull the plug in the whole experiment, it was failed from the onset, bringing him over from the Raiders. I mean, if it's not this great quarterback class, do they pass on Shedeur if he's there at 9? Like, if he's there at 9, does that then change the complexion of their draft and say, well, we didn't expect him to be here, but since he is, we do have to look at Shedeur at 9?
Yeah, oh, they definitely have to, because I think that is more of where Kellen Moore feels like he wants to be married to his quarterback of the future, right? I mean, obviously the head coach, you don't bring in Kellen Moore unless you're looking to make a dynamic change. And that was even with the healthy Derek Carr, right? I think that was where ownership was looking at. We obviously need to change things up from a defensive mind here the last handful of years. Let's get back on the offensive side, especially in a division where we don't think, Dave, I think you and I agree, it's not like the Bucs are running away with this thing, or the Falcons under Michael Penix Jr. are just going to go win 11 games and a cloud of dust.
Man, the idea of New Orleans passing on Shedeur if he's there at 9 would shock me. And to me, the Saints don't have to force it. I don't get the Jackson Dart love. You look at his over-under. I mean, on yesterday's show, it was 24.5 for where he'd go. And let's see if that's changed at all. Jackson Dart, over-under, still 24.5, still minus 155 to the under. Saints and Steelers, 2 most notable quarterback-seeking teams drafting under that position once you get outside of Tennessee. I don't think you force it with Dart, unless there's something Kellen Moore sees in Jackson Dart. And I know we talk in Ole Miss, they run that pro-style offense. It feels like a force at 9. If Shedeur Sanders is there, go for it. But if Sanders is off the board, get an edge. Get an O-lineman, Say someone surprises you. Say the Jets surprise you and take a Shedeur Sanders at 7. Maybe Membao's there. Build your line. Build from the middle out. Build in the trenches. You know you're going to suck this year. The Saints are going nowhere. You can look ahead to next year's quarterback class. When the Giants brought in Russ Wilson, I cringed because I wanted my Giants, growing up a Giants fan, I wanted them to stink this year with Jameis. And, I called the Jameis signing unintentional tanking because Jameis is going to try to win. God bless him. I love Jameis Winston. And he's going to have you in a lot of games, but, there's going to be a couple last-minute pick sixes. Jameis is going to try to win, and you're going to go 3-14. With Russ, you're probably going to win 5-6 games and miss out on the first pick. And I wanted Arch Manning next year. Well, the only other franchise, storyline-wise, that would compare to the Giants getting Arch Manning would be the Saints, who had his namesake, Archie Manning, way back in the day. And I think that's what the Saints are probably primed to do. Stink this year and take Manning or possibly whoever the number 1 overall quarterback. I think it's going to be Manning, but I think the Saints are going to be drafted number 1 next year. So why force it with Dart when you can actually get a player who's going to make you better in the long run instead of just making Dart the sacrificial lamb? Is Jackson Dart that much better than Spencer Rattler? Frankly, I don't think so. I think it would be a reach and a half. Got more draft takes to hear from, actually, regarding my Giants. Let's hear what Adam Shine had to say earlier in the day regarding my Giants and their draft position.
The New York Football Giants at 3 have to take Abdul Carter. It's as simple as that. But they also must trade back into the first round for a quarterback. They absolutely have to do that. That is without question what they need to do. They must trade back into the first round.
I think that's the hottest take in the 8-month history of Make It Rain with Adam Shine. Some would call it sizzling. Love Adam. No one better. For those of you who don't know, poking fun at Adam because I used to be his intern. Used to work for Adam over at SiriusXM. Everything is the best or the hottest in the X amount history of his program. That is a hot take, though. The Giants trading back into the first round, I disagree. And the Abdul Carter piece, I agree on. I'd prefer it to be Travis Hunter, but if the Browns take Hunter, it's Carter. If the Browns shock us and take Carter, it's going to be Hunter. You can't pass on a generational talent like Abdul Carter. I don't see any generational talent on this quarterback board, though, so I think you do pass. I would not want to trade future assets to get back into the first round and take a Dart. Or even if it is Shador, even if Dart goes to the Saints and Shador's there at 18, 19, I wouldn't want to give up future picks, future assets to take Shador when you can probably get a better quarterback in next year's draft. So I disagree with the trading away picks and assets to get back into the first round, but I do agree. Don't force a positional need. Even though the Giants' defensive front is probably maybe the strongest part of this team, receiver room, defensive front, you can decide. But if a guy like Abdul Carter is on the board, you got to take him. He is an absolute stud. Gonna talk a little baseball. Big Slate Friday coming up next. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Thursday night into your weekend, right on into your Friday morning here on the program. Been a great show thus far. Going to look ahead to a Friday on the diamond. I can't wait for what we've got in store. Major League Baseball, the weekend to come. We'll get into some series prices shortly, but as we start to set the scene for the weekend, some really fun pitching matchups on Friday, starting bright and early. 2:20 p.m. Eastern, 11:20 a.m. Pacific time. We've got a D-backs Cubs game. Thank God for the Chicago Cubs. I mean, it's a Friday. Weather's getting warm. Starting to be sundress season for those of you who care about that. We need more day baseball games, don't we? I mean, we can't have weekdays where there's not a game on until, 3:40 Pacific or 6:40 Eastern or so. We need more day baseball. And when the rest of the league fails us, the Chicago Cubs seemingly always deliver. So we've got that one-day game at Wrigley, and it's an intriguing one. It's Corbin Burns for the D-backs going up against Colin Ray and the Cubs. Colin Ray, not the sexiest name in terms of a pitching matchup, but the Cubs have been great. 12-9 on the season, 12-7 since stateside opening day. Continental opening day, we'll call it, because I think the Jays were home opening day. So we'll call it Continental opening day. Since then, not counting all that Tokyo crap, D-backs and Cubs both 12-7 since opening day for the entire league. So these are two hot teams. Arizona coming off a sweep in South Beach. Now they're headed to a much gloomier, colder Chicago this time of year. Although, hey, they're saying 73 degrees at first pitch. Sign me up for that. Corbin Burnes struggled this year. 0-1, 3 starts. Arizona, coincidentally, ironically, has actually won 2 out of his 3 starts. He has not been able to get a win. You look at his first start in the Bronx, 4 1/3, 4 runs, 2 earned. That was the one that killed me because I had the over on outs recorded. And I think it was 15.5. And he was zooming. And then Arizona made a couple of errors, couple of unearned runs. Burnes goes 4 1/3. Then in D.C., he just got shellacked by the Nationals. That's his only loss of the year. 5 innings, 4 earned. Nats got the win. And then at home against his old team, against the Brewers, turned in a quality start, 6 innings, 3 earned, only 3 strikeouts. Actually, only 14 Ks on the year in 15 1/3. But the D-backs are 2-1 when he pitches, despite his ERA north of 5 first 3 games with Arizona. He's opposing Colin Ray, who's pitched to an ERA of 1 on the nose this year. How many innings has Ray gone out there for? 9 innings. Okay, so 1 earned, 9 innings. Has he started a game yet? 1 start in his 4 appearances. He's yet to go 4 innings. So that could be the bright side for Arizona. Now, Ray has been a starter, like Burnes, formerly with the Brewers. So this is not a guy who's a stranger to starting games. But this year, 4 appearances, just 1 start. Maybe Arizona chases him. I mean, last year he started 27 games. The year before, 22. So he's got 77 career starts. Going back to opening day of 2023, he has made 50 starts, including the one this season. You know, he's a guy with a career ERA right in the mid-4s, 4.5 to be exact. Last year it was 4.3, year before 4.55. Was 12-6 last year, despite the 4.3 ERA. So, you know, if you can get 5 innings of 2-run ball from a guy like Colin Ray here at 34 years old, you're happy with that. You know, he started in L.A. against the Dodgers, gave them 3 2/3, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts. You take that. They got the win, Sunday Night Baseball, opposite Tyler Glasnow. So you'll take that from Colin Ray any day. I wonder if we can get an outs recorded prop in this one. I mean, I don't even know if they would post that on Ray, given that he is has not started many games yet this year, but maybe like a 15.5. Would they be generous enough to? No, I'm not seeing an outs recorded. 3.5 strikeouts is out there. For Burnes, it's 5.5. D-backs, 35-cent favorites. Chicago plus $1.15. I believe, actually, we had someone tweet at the show saying his bet of the day. Yep, our buddy at VegasAl31 tweets at the Joe Ceraulo. MLB tomorrow, Cubs plus 115. So our buddy Vegas Al is on the Cubs. Now what am I supposed to do? I can't fade Vegas Al. I can't fade our friends. No, I didn't have any action on this one anyway. Was thinking maybe the prop market. Here's a game I'm into, and I'm into it big time. Royals-Tigers. Again, I might go back to the Nerfy. It's minus 35 cents, but we had some shaky starters for the Thursday Nerfy that we hit. Reese Olson for Detroit, Michael Lorenzen for Kansas City. Now we got Cole Reagans, baby. Cole Reagans and the prospect, Jackson Jobe. So that's why you're paying 15 cents more on this one. It was minus 120 Thursday, now minus 135. Jobe, the 22-year-old, is 1-0 in the early goings of the season through 3 starts. First 3 starts of his career. Remember, last year, both appearances late in the year out of the pen. 4 innings, 3 earned, first time out. Since then, 5 innings, 2 earned, 6 shutty last time out at Minnesota. Not a lot of K production, just 9 strikeouts in 15 innings. But Jobe's looked pretty good. Cole Reagans has been nothing shy of absolutely phenomenal so far this season. And I was originally, before I thought Nerfy, I was thinking, do we go Royals first 5? But here's the deal. The Royals are minus 140 first 5 money line. If you want to go run line, it's plus $1.05. On the game, yeah, they're minus 140 on the game money line and the first 5. On the game run line, they're plus 130. I just can't trust these Royals to hit. The offense has been anemic. They're 2-8 on the road. What have they lost? 4 in a row? Yeah, they're on a 4-game losing streak. 1 run in Detroit Thursday. 3 at Yankee Stadium. 2. I mean, they lost the Yankee 4-3, 4-2, 4-1. You look at the Royals. 1-3-2-1. 4 in a win. 3 in a loss. Shutout in a loss. 3 in a win. Shutout in a loss. 2 in a win. 4 in a win. 4. When the hell is the last time this team scored 5 runs? Oh my goodness. They beat the Orioles 8-2. What's the date of this game? April 4th. The Kansas City Royals haven't scored 5 runs in 2 weeks. That's embarrassing. This is bizarre if you look at the Royals' last games. I mean, they're pitching well. 6 runs against Detroit's the most they've given up in a while. They gave up 4 runs 4 straight games. Or excuse me, 3 straight. They scored 4 in the win against Cleveland. But they haven't scored 8 runs since April 4th. They have only scored 5 or more runs twice this season. 11 in a win in Milwaukee and 8 in a win against Baltimore. That's freaking embarrassing. We talked about the Pirates and how they had only scored more than 4 runs twice all year going into the National Series. Well, they did it twice in the National Series. So that number's 4 times now. Kansas City. This is pathetic, actually. I didn't realize how bad it was when we dove into that. So there's no way I can get behind the Royals on a money line play, even a first 5 play, because I can't trust them to score. What's their team total? 3.5. Under is plus 5 cents. Is that the move? Under 3.5? No, I think we're going to stick to something surrounding Reagan's. Might go Nerfy. I don't love to lay 35 cents there. But, I mean, is K-prop over 7.5 even money? Reagan's to record the win. Yeah, I'd like to do that, but he's only 1-0 this year, and he's pitching his ass off. Just not getting any run support. He got 34 strikeouts in a handful of starts he's made. Could look under 4.5 hits allowed, but you're laying 50 cents. Under 1.5 earned runs allowed, minus 105. Certainly something he's capable of. Going under 1.5 earned runs allowed. Let's see what his game log on the year looks like. On the season, allowed 3 opening day. Since then, 3 starts, 1 earned in each of the 3. This month in April, 18 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs. Current Tigers against Cole Reagans, 4 for 49, 16 strikeouts. Man, under 4.5 hits actually looks good, but at minus 150, I don't know if I can get there. Something regarding Cole Reagans is going to be worked into the best bets coming up later on in the show. We're going to figure out what exactly that is as the show progresses. Folks, do you want to know where the money's really going? Unlike other sources, our betting splits here at VSiN come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action's landing. Circa, known for taking big bets from the pros, of course, while DraftKings provides a broader market perspective. That means you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kinds of wagers that move lines. See the percentage of bets versus the handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's summer special right now for only $59 until August 1st at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's half off the normal monthly price, folks. You can't beat it. Wow, Detroit hitters, 4 for 49 against Cole Reagans. Got to figure out some way to bet the southpaw in this one. You just can't trust the Kansas City Royals offense. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
When a shopper places an order, you have one shot at winning them as a lifelong customer. I'm Al Coe, CEO of ShipStation. I'm obsessed with ShipStation being the most reliable and efficient way you can ship. At ShipStation, our promise is to make shipping easier for e-commerce business owners. We're focused on providing the most integrations with all the places you sell and automating manual tasks to make fulfillment easier for your team. We partner with all the major carriers to make sure you get the lowest possible rates because every dollar counts. So no matter what you're sending or where you're shipping to, ShipStation can get it there fast and keep your customers happy. See for yourself how ShipStation can reduce the time and effort you spend on order fulfillment. Go to ShipStation.com to sign up for your free trial. That's ShipStation.com.
here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Thursday night, getting you ready for your weekend here on the program as we work into your Friday morning. And with the draft looming, we've got our friend, the host of the College Experience. He handicaps college football better than anyone out there. Well, let's see what he thinks about the draft. Let's also get some UFL picks as we head over to the Progressive guest line. Welcome in, host of the College Experience, our friend from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, Colby Dant, into the show. My man, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. I mean, considering, it gets a little dry after March Madness, but, you got the NFL draft, you got UFL. There's still some gems out there. We had a great Masters, so I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, Colby. I was actually getting a little sad, getting a little sentimental after March Madness ended because I was like, shoot, are we going to lose Colby now until college football season? But you have carved out a nice niche for yourself. I will say, because you're one of my favorite guests here on the program, you might be the only person who could get me to talk UFL on this show because it's not a league I follow. It's not a league I watch. But when you have a league that's maybe not as mainstream, what you can get out of that is an edge. And it looks like you've created a pretty nice edge for yourself betting the UFL. So start us off with Friday Night Lights. What do you like in this Memphis-Michigan game?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think last I saw Memphis was getting 7.5. Now they've had this year in the spring leagues. It's gotten a little tough as far as coaching turnover. Ken Wisenhunt, former of the NFL, stepped down for the Memphis Showboats. But 7.5 in a spring league is an enormous number. I know you look and see Memphis 0-3, but they could easily be 3-0. They've lost all these games by a close margin. And Ken Wisenhunt, their coach, stepping away, he actually took a leave of absence week 1, so they're accustomed to this. So I think the Showboats. And it's a rematch, by the way, of that week 1 matchup. So I'm going to take the 7.5 points with the Showboats. The fact that they play the 2 quarterback system, I think, has been it can work out in a game like this where Michigan's prepped for one offensive quarterback they haven't faced yet this season. And Michigan doesn't have Jake Bates, who's set the NFL on fire, I think, last year. Yeah. He was in this league a year ago, and he was such a key scorer for them as far as kicking in that dome at Ford Field. So I think they stay within that number. Michigan probably wins the game with Bryce Perkins there, but give me the 7.5 with the Showboats.
How about Saturday morning, St. Louis, Arlington? Correct me if I'm wrong. St. Louis, the Battlehawks, is that Marquette King's team, the former punter for the Raiders? Or am I off on that?
Well, no, I think he was on there a couple of years ago. I think he's on Arlington now. But
okay. What do you like in this game then?
Yeah,
He'd be on the other side.
He's bounced around. He's got a rap album, I think, 2 out. But
so does Kadarius Toney as of today.
It's a thing to do these days, right?
Apparently, Darren Waller, Kadarius Toney. If you get run out of the league, just go to be a rapper. Unreal. Yeah, sorry, Colby. Yeah. St. Louis, Arlington. What do you like?
No, you're inspiring me. I think after the show, I might have to do a rap album now. But this game is to me, I think, the best game of the weekend. It's a critical game in the playoff race for the divisions that they reside in. So, I like Arlington here. Bob Stoops obviously won a national championship at Oklahoma. Was a defensive coordinator in a national championship with Steve Spurrier in Florida. Honestly, I think there's a great edge you could find in these leagues, and a lot of it has to do with trusting the college coaches. College coaches are used to so much turnover, even in the old era, pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal. Your players graduate nonstop, and it's always been that way. And you go up against so many different style of offenses and defenses, where in the NFL you get a lot of similarity. And I think that's why these NFL coaches have really struggled in a lot of these spring leagues. You go back to the AAF in 2019, Spurrier was running it. I've given out futures on the Birmingham Stallions the past 3 years that I've hit each year with Skip Holtz there. I think there's a legit coaching edge with constant turnover. So I'm going to take the Renegades there at home. Their defense is really good this year. I think they have the second best D-line here going up against the St. Louis Battlehawks team. I know they just lost, but the Battlehawks team, their 2 wins, they look great. but it was against the worst competition in the league. So I think the Renegades will take care of business here. And they're getting a 1.5 at home. I'd just ride that thing on the money line.
Talk about your futures on Birmingham. They're taking on Houston. What do you like in that game? 2 plays in this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I like the under because Birmingham, is a really good defense, and they've won the championship 3 straight years in spring leagues, where there's the USFL 2 years and then the UFL last year. They're not as good as the teams the past 3 years, but once again, like I just kind of highlighted, Skip Holtz is a coach that each week I think he addresses a weakness of the team, and for a lot of these teams, you get a lot of older NFL coaches and stuff that to me they kind of phone it in a little bit. I think you have a huge edge here with the Birmingham Stallions. Matt Corral, the former second-round pick by the Carolina Panthers, their quarterback, and I think just in general, this Birmingham Stallions team will probably be in the mix to win another championship here. Houston just won a game a week ago. Curtis Johnson, not known for the best coaching there. I'd say he's probably the weakest coach in the league thus far, and their offense has been pretty bad, specifically at home. So I think Birmingham puts it on there. I like laying that number, but I like the under because I don't think they're going to have any success scoring the ball, even with Nolan Henderson and the quarterback change there.
Hey, Colby, before we take it over to the NFL draft, little Easter action. San Antonio catching 7 against the DC Defenders, total 38.5. What do we like there?
Yeah, I think this is the one you looked for the juicy money line play here. I'm taking the points, but I also think it's because it's a pretty big number, and a lot of it has to do. Wade Phillips has been sick, and they fired an offensive coordinator / quit a week ago. But Peyton Pardee, the grandson of Jack Pardee, the former Washington Redskin and Los Angeles Ram, takes over, and he looked good last week as calling the plays. He's going to be the interim head coach for this week with the sickness of Wade Phillips. And I think they're a live money line shot here just because DC is coming off of, just a really emotional win. That's probably the one rivalry in this league is DC St. Louis, and you could tell when you watch that game. DC comes back home. The last time they did this, they almost tripped up to the Memphis Showboats. I like it taking a shot on San Antonio to win this thing out right here under Peyton Pardee, who's a much younger head coach. I think he might be able to connect to the players a little bit more. Remember, Wade Phillips, like 77, 78 years old.
Right.
And Anthony McFarland, their star running back, played college ball right up the road there in Maryland. So it's a little bit of a homecoming for him. I think definitely with the points, I like to stay within that number. But I think the money line's live here.
I love it. Colby Dant with us on the Progressive Guest Line, our friend from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Follow him on Twitter at @TheColbyD. Let's talk a little NFL draft. You're the college football expert. These kids going from college to the next step here. What's the play on Shedeur Sanders? Now we're seeing some mock drafts that have Jackson Dart getting taken ahead of Shedeur in the top 10. What do you like with Shedeur in this betting market?
Yeah, I mean, the Jackson Dart thing is puzzling to me in a way. I mean, I just don't know. I just mentioned Matt Corral comes out of that same system, pretty much doing the same stuff that Jackson Dart was doing.
Right.
Maybe Dart's got a little bit stronger of an arm, and but still, this guy that got beat out by Keaton Slovis at USC. I just don't see it. But I do like the Shedeur Sanders prop. Quarterbacks are always so overvalued. Maybe that's the reason why Dart's jumping up so much. 3-1 on being a top 5 pick. We've seen it so many years where you see a team trade up in that spot, and also you do have some teams that just might be in a spot to trade up. Essentially, especially if all it takes is one player to be taken early, or what, if the Browns don't go Abdul Carter or something, all it takes is one little ruffled feather there for it to change, and then some team might just jump up into the mix. So you've heard a lot of talk about potentially teams trading up. So I think it's worth a shot on Shedeur. I definitely think he's going to be the second quarterback drafted. I would be pretty shocked if Jackson Dart went ahead of Shedeur Sanders. But the top 5 prop that's out there that I've seen is appealing to me as well.
Yeah, 3-1 for Shedeur to go top 5. This Jackson Dart stuff almost feels a little like Will Levis a couple of years ago. Could go first, could go third, and then he falls to the second round where I'd say where he belonged, but he probably belonged being Mr. Irrelevant. Colby, little would you rather, we only have about 20 seconds before I let you go. Would you rather bet Ashton Genty to go to the Raiders at -110 or to go over pick number 6.5 plus 120?
I'll take the plus 120. There's talk that the Jets could do it. So, I mean, yeah, I'll take that plus 120 shot.
All right. Saying that Genty won't go to the Raiders. Certainly shouldn't. It's a luxury pick. Colby, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks so much for hopping on. Good luck on that rap album.
Anytime, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Follow him on Twitter at @TheColbyD. And folks, don't forget to take VSiN with you anywhere, anytime. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today, and you can stay connected to the action with the new and improved VSiN Watch app. Gives you 24/7 live access to our audio and video streams, replays of your favorite shows, and big screen streaming straight to your smart TV. Watch VSiN anywhere with the VSiN Watch app today.